me. Don't let these tears fool you. It's all dog around this mug. I'm good.
Hey, what's going on, Who Dat Nation? It is yours truly, TJ Jones. And yes, I am the host of the State of the Saints podcast. Thank you so much for checking out the State of the Saints podcast, where we talk New Orleans Saints. And it's good to be back, man. I took a week off from doing podcasts, sports podcasting, to launch my brand new podcast, the Unapologetic Podcast, which is a weekly podcast, kind of different from what I'm used to doing or what you probably are accustomed to see me doing. So wanted to focus on that. But we're back and we got a lot to talk about. And this is the podcast that talks New Orleans Saints. So if you're new to the channel or you just stumble across this because it was live, I ask that you hit the like button, subscribe to the channel. And if you're on the fence, like I often say, hopefully by the end of this podcast, we'll have you in that number. No pun intended. But let's go ahead and get into it, man. I mean, there are so many angles I can come from on this episode. So many things have happened since I did my last podcast. Was about a week ago. I mean, there's so many things we can actually talk about, man. I mean, we could talk about the Saints' new offensive coordinator, Clint Kubiak, who will be coaching in the Super Bowl this week. We can talk about Doug Marrone finally getting fired. We can talk about Michael Thomas and Derek Carr, coming back with his response. We can talk about Jameis Winston on a on Barstool. We can talk about so many different things when it comes to the New Orleans Saints. But I think that it's probably suffice that we go ahead and just talk a little bit about the new hire. I'm pretty sure everybody knows by now if you've been following the Saints. The Saints have hired Clint Kubiak as their new offensive coordinator, according to sources. They haven't really had a press conference, anything like that, but everybody's pretty much saying that Clint Kubiak is on the San Francisco 49ers coaching staff, like I said earlier in the show. He is a guy that has been around the league. He's a guy who has been coaching for quite some time. He started out at Texas A&M as a quality control coach, worked his way up, had some stops with Minnesota, stops with the Denver Broncos, and now he's with the San Francisco 49ers. And now in 2024, he'll be the new offensive coordinator of the New Orleans Saints. First thing I'm going to say about Clint Kubiak is not the fact that I think that this is a good hire. I think that everybody kind of feels that way. I think I got a lot of respect for Clint Kubiak in this regard. I mean, we know when you're a kid of a coach, a head coach, right? Sometimes, there is levels of nepotism. I mean, you can basically kind of, go through the side door, go through the back door, right? You don't have to climb the ranks, right? Because your dad is the coach, and his dad is Gary Kubiak. I'm pretty sure some of you know he was the head coach of the Houston Texans, and he was the head coach of the Denver Broncos team led by Peyton Manning and that vaunted defense led by Von Miller to win a Super Bowl. But Clint Kubiak, he did it the hard way, man. He he worked himself up, and now he gets this opportunity. And, I got nothing but respect for that. I think this kind of makes us understand that the New Orleans Saints maybe understand what they need to do in order for them to get back to their winning ways. And it's not so much about them digging into the crates and trying to find coaches that resemble yesteryear, but embracing what is the now. And I've said that on so many different episodes here on the State of the Saints podcast. The Saints embracing the now, embracing the future, not so much of being the old stubborn guy that just doesn't want to move, the old stubborn guy that just don't want to change his car, the old stubborn guy that just don't want to put the new roof on his house. Like embrace the future. And we know that the future of the NFL is motion. We know that what the San Francisco 49ers are doing, what the Los Angeles Rams are doing, what the Houston Texans have been doing. Like, these are the things that resemble the modern day NFL. And also what resembles the modern day NFL. And this isn't a disrespect to any of the legendary coaches that have been in the league for 30, 40 years, but the new wave seems to be young, innovative coaches. It is not so much that they're trying to push these older guys to the side because these guys no longer have anything to offer. These coaches don't have anything to give to these players. That's not true. But you need coaches that can relate to the younger generation, that when they relate to them, it doesn't seem as is being disingenuous, but it's more so it's a part of who they are. And you look at Clint Kubiak, he's 36 years old. He's a young guy. He's a guy that more than likely, if he does a good job, is going to end up being a head coach in the league. And this is a great opportunity. And the Saints, they have some really good offensive pieces to put this thing together and be one of the best in the league. Now, I'm not going to be one of those people that just says Clint Kubiak is hired, so all of the issues that plague the offense are going to go away. But I do feel like you're going to see a difference in this offense that is indeed needed. And I also feel like you're going to see some of the players that probably got snubbed because maybe the modern day NFL, Pete Carmichael wasn't really coaching that, really putting the emphasis on that. So some guys had to take a back seat, and honestly, they weren't living up to their potential. They'll finally be able to do that. Now, I know some people will probably look at this and they'll probably roll their eyes and probably say, TJ, you tripping, because they're probably thinking to themselves, for every Christian McCaffrey, there's an Alvin Kamara. For every Deebo Samuel, there's a Taysom Hill. But you also have to take into account all those guys on the 49ers team. They're different. They're completely different. Not to say that the Saints players don't have the capabilities of doing some of the things that we see from a George Kittle, what we see from a Deebo Samuel. But those guys, those players on that team have a tendency of being able to get that yak consistently. Brock Purdy can throw the ball to Christian McCaffrey, and it can be a 5-yard pass, and Christian McCaffrey can turn that into a 45-yard gain. Now, Alvin Kamara, we've seen him do that. And, there are other guys that do it. But I just feel like it's completely different when you look at these guys. And I also understand that there are high expectations when you have a coach that is coming from, a Sean McVay type, a Kyle Shanahan type coaching tree. They seem to be leading the charge of the modern day NFL of innovative offense, I should say. So I can understand that, but I just want to see something that's a little bit different from last year. I want to see nuances of change. I want to see things that we're not accustomed to. I want to see more of an emphasis on the running game. I want to see players like Rashid Shaheed get more than 3 touches per game. I want to see guys like Jamal Williams be able to run in between spaces because the offensive line have opened up opportunities for him. I want to see guys like Kendre Miller get opportunities. I want to see that. And I don't want them to be held back or us being told that, oh, it's just not their time because you don't have the right coach to be able to get these guys to football. And that's not a knock on Pete Carmichael. It's just a reality. It seemed like throughout the course of the season last year, he struggled with trying to find ways of getting these guys to football. So hopefully the Saints don't have that issue going into 2024, and maybe Clint Kubiak can cook up something that we're not accustomed to seeing, and these players can get back, to being excited, because I just feel like the offense, these players were not excited about coming to work. You're probably excited the fact that you are privileged enough to come and play in the NFL every single week, but I don't think these guys embraced, that offense and really felt good about coming to work each and every week. I don't. So maybe Clint Kubiak can bring in something different and get these young guys excited about getting the football and being able to turn this offense around. Because there are a lot of these guys on the team don't remember when the Saints were one of the top offenses in the league. And I'm pretty sure that they probably heard other players talk about it. Some of the veterans that were there, they'll probably say, oh man, back in the day we was cooking. It's one thing to actually hear about it. It's another thing to be a part of it. So hopefully Clint Kubiak can bring something to the table that resembles change and get these guys involved and get these guys excited about playing offensive football again. There's nothing wrong with being a defensive team. There's nothing wrong with that. I mean, there's nothing wrong with your defense being lights out. But we all know there comes a time where offense of another team has your number, and you need that offense to be able to keep lock and step with the offense that is having your defense's number on that particular day. So congratulations to Clint Kubiak. I think the Saints made the right decision. All the scrutiny that the Saints have gotten, justifiably so, by the way, all the scrutiny they've gotten, I think that this is one of those things where we got to give them some level of credit. There was so many coaches that came in. We even had conversations like, does anybody want to coach alongside Dennis Allen? It was just one of those things where the Saints knew who they wanted, and they really tried to work hard in order for them to get him. And they got the guy that they wanted, and he's a guy that is a part of a team right now that has opportunity to win a Lombardi Trophy in the San Francisco 49ers. So him coming in with that type of cachet, that type of pedigree, I think it'll get these guys excited about what 2024 can be. But let me go ahead and read some of your comments, and then we'll go from there. Texas Saint says, welcome back, TJ. Thank you, man. I really appreciate that. Needed some time to recharge the batteries, and once again, just kind of focus on my other podcast, the Unapologetic Podcast I've been working on. So thank y'all, man. Thank y'all for y'all patience. Thank y'all for understanding that, and also thank you for those that may have checked out the Unapologetic Podcast. And if I put the link down in the comments, so if anybody want to check it out, may not be for everybody. Some people just might want to hear me talk about sports. That's fine. But if you want to hear like a different perspective, the Unapologetic Podcast is available for you. But let's go ahead and read a little bit more. Jerry says, so I guess that means Gruden will be the quarterback's coach. I don't know if that's the case or not, Jerry. I don't know if he's going to be the quarterback coach or not. I don't see him being the quarterback coach. I've seen him maybe being like a assistant or just being on the staff, giving another set of eyes to, the Saints coaching staff, maybe helping them see things a little bit differently. I don't have a problem with that. But if you're going to, change some things around, you need to change some things around. And we'll talk a little bit more about how I feel like what the Saints need to do in order for them to be even more effective with a Clint Kubiak offense. But yeah, I think that if you're going to change some things around, you're going to change some things around. And Jerry, you also have to take into account that if he is the offensive coordinator, he's going to want to bring in some guys that he wants to coach with. So this is a guy that's going to come in after the Super Bowl, and I'm pretty sure he's going to get some guys that'll be a part of his coaching staff that makes him feel comfortable, and people that he has grown accustomed to knowing, and maybe coming in to be able to help out on the offensive side of the football. So that's what I see happening, coming up pretty soon. So I can't say John Gruden is set in stone, because you gotta be able to collaborate with Clint Kubiak. You can't just be like, okay, Clint, you're our offensive coordinator and this is your staff. Like, you got to give them opportunity to be able to get some guys that they kind of have a rapport with. And who's to say that John Gruden will have a rapport with Clint Kubiak? I look at it more so of a maybe, like I said, him being on the staff, him being a part of meetings, him being a part of film study. I don't think it will be anything like a quarterback coach, because I think that's probably something that Clint Kubiak will want to put in place, of somebody that it could be one of those situations where he wants to bring in his own person. Let's see. The Saints are saying a perfect hire, which is a perfect hire. Well, look, I don't know if it's a perfect hire or not. I don't know. I can't say it's a perfect hire because I haven't seen a guy coach the offense. But I do feel like it's a step in the right direction. I mean, I got to give him credit with that. it's a step in the right direction. At least we know it's going to be different. At least we know that it's going to be more of a modernized offense under Kubiak. So I think that's why people feel optimistic. But I think we have a large enough sample size for this Saints coaching staff for us to kind of reserve our judgment. Like it's okay to be excited. It's okay to be like really on cloud nine about the Saints, like embracing something that resembles a difference versus what they used to be. It's okay with that. Like I'm okay with that, but I can understand people reserving their judgment. I can't say that this is going to be a knock, saying a home run. I haven't seen a guy coach offense yet. But this is a step in the right direction, if you ask me. But it could be the start of something special. Who knows? But guy got to coach first. Still need an upgrade at O-line and defensive tackle. Jerry, we'll talk about that in a second. Says new and innovative is always a good move. Yeah. Embracing the now. That's what it's all about. I know I sound like a broken record, but that's the only way I can describe what I'm trying to tell you. You have to embrace the now. It's a copycat league. And what really bothers me, I know we say this stuff jokingly, and I've said this on the State of the Saints podcast, so it might be a level of hypocrisy here. When we talk about like the Atlanta Falcons getting Terry Fontenot from the Saints, bringing in Caden Ellis and Davion Yamada, right? We talk about, oh man, y'all trying to be the Saints. But you can't knock a team for trying to go with something that works, right? It's the same way with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and Carolina Panthers. Now you got them. Oh, y'all got Dave Canales. Now y'all getting our Tampa Bay coaches. Well, of course he is, because he want like that resembles success. So why wouldn't you want to copy that? There's nothing wrong with trying to replicate something that works. I mean, it's the whole reason why the Saints went out and went after Kubiak, because he is on a squad and he coaches on a team that has shown throughout the years their offense works, and it's one of the best in the league. So I don't have an issue with teams going out here trying to get some of that success if it means, I don't know, maybe purging a coach, purging a player. I don't have no issue with that. I mean, we joke around and stuff like that, but you can't argue with success. So that's my whole thing. Like, it's okay to, if something has been proven to work, there's nothing wrong with trying to find ways to replicate that. Sometimes it can blow up in your face because you didn't structure it the right way. For example, a couple years back when you had the Legion of Boom, right? They ran a certain type of defense, right? When you had Earl Thomas controlling the middle of the field, it was almost like a triangle type defense, right? And the Saints tried to replicate that. They tried to bring in Rob Ryan as their defensive coordinator, and they tried to use Jarius Byrd as an Earl Thomas. Well, there's only one Earl Thomas, right? And Jarius Byrd was coming off a career year where he had 9 interceptions when the Saints gave him that big contract as a safety. But sometimes you try to go with things that work and you try to put it together and it doesn't. And then you do try to put it together and it does work. So nothing wrong with trying to go out here and try to get you something that you've seen that works. So I don't have a problem with that. Rocky said, this is live. Yeah, yes, it is. This is live as live can be. Axel Bump said, did you get my email? No, I did not. What I say, I unplugged, man. I unplugged from everything that was football, for the exception like the Senior Bowl stuff. And even with that, like honestly, man, I was just so like focused on trying to get my other podcasts off the ground. So no, I didn't check it out. But I'll make sure that I do that. I'll make sure that I do check it out, man. Says we got to have an offensive line to show any improvement on offense. Yeah, I think that that's a good idea. Once again, we're going to talk about that in just a second. On trying to get through some of these comments. I know a lot of people might gotta have a lot to say. TJ, did you see Ross Jackson and Dolph and Nick Underhill at the Senior Bowl? Nope. No, I did not. No, I did not. I didn't see them. No, I did not. Let's see. I would damn near force feed Shaheed. Let's see. I don't want to say force feed him, but I think they need to get him more involved with the offense. I think that they need to get him a little bit more involved. He's too special of a player. Look, there comes a time like when you see somebody and they're just it's just magical. Like the first time Rashid Shaheed touched the football, he scored a touchdown. Every time he touches the football, something positive for the most part happened. I only can think of maybe once, maybe twice I ever seen him lose yards. Rather it's like a jet sweep, rather it's like a reverse. Like I don't see him losing yards. And every time he touches the ball, something magical happens. He's a really good football player. And I just think that the Saints didn't utilize him right. And I really feel like they can really open it up with him. And I think they this may sound crazy to some, but I think Rashid Shaheed has the potential to be more of an all-pro than Chris Olave does. Like, not to say that I don't believe that Chris Olave can't be an all-pro. He can. But I just think that Shaheed has that it. Like, he has that it factor. Like, Chris Olave has it too. But it's just something about Rashid Shaheed and his ability and his skill set. It just gets you excited. And it's just like, like if he was to go to the 49ers, he can be what Brandon Ayuk is. Like if he goes to the Rams, he can be what Nakua is. Like he's that type of special player. And I just think that the reason we don't talk about him or the league doesn't really talk about him as much is because the Saints, in my opinion, kind of held them back. And sometimes those coaches can hold those guys back because they put such a strong emphasis on the guy that may have been the higher draft pick, the guy that they invested the most money in. And these other guys got to take a back seat no matter what their potential is. And the Saints better be careful, man, because I feel like they probably are going to look back and think, man, we really squandered this opportunity here. And now we got to pay this guy. They had opportunity to really utilize Rashid Shaheed in a magical way. And I feel like they kind of squandered it because maybe they were trying to get the ball to guys that were a little bit more premier than where Rashid Shaheed is. I mean, you got to think about it. First round draft. Who are you trying to get the ball to? A first round draft pick or, a guy that's undrafted rookie? Like, you're going to try to get it to that guy that you want everybody to feel like he was validated, like your organization, was, that they were right when it comes to selecting a guy. They want to feel like, this validates their pick. So I think that's one of these situations. But you can't like starve a guy just because you want to try to appease another. If that guy is talented, use him. Like find ways to get that guy involved. And once they do that, then I feel like, he's going to be a really, really special talent. I just think that people aren't talking about him that much because the Saints only give him the ball 2-3 times a game. Let's see. Everyone running that Vic Fangio cover for defense finished bottom third in defense ranking. Let's see. Sometimes copying others isn't good. Well, it's not so much about it's not the fact that copying isn't always good, Jerry. You also got to take into account, number one, why is it not working? Like if it's proven that it works, it works. But you also have to take into account who are they using in order to make it work. Like some coaches get a little bit arrogant and they like, well, if they can run that, I can run that too. But you got to think about the personnel as well. Like I think about the 49ers, I'm telling you, like they're a different beast. Like they got some yak getters. Every last one of their receivers can get yards after the catch. I can't say that about every receiver the New Orleans Saints have. Like, there's only like a few guys I could think of, I think they can get their yards after the catch. Olave, not really. You know what I'm saying? Rashid Shaheed, he just so fast, he just run past everybody. And A.T. Perry is more so, I'm pretty sure he's going to emerge as maybe that third down guy, move the chain type guy because of his wide and big frame. So they don't have a lot of yak getters. Every wide receiver on the 49ers team, even Jennings, even their fourth string receiver type guy. Because I look at it like Debo. Debo, Ayuk, Kittle, and then Jennings. All these guys can get yak. And then you add Chris McCaffrey coming out the backfield. So there's guys that can make plays. Everybody on that Saints team isn't doing it. So you have to take into account who you have on your team in order to make it work. Sometimes these organizations, these coaches try to run this stuff and they don't have the right players to make it successful. I mean, things work, but you got to make sure that you have the right pieces in place. Does AK stay there? Well, I got mixed emotions about this situation. I feel like, okay, if you keep Alvin Kamara, at least you know that there's going to be a strong emphasis on getting him the ball in space. And I feel like that became a lost art over the last couple of years under Pete Carmichael. You didn't really see Alvin Kamara really getting a ball in space. They really stopped utilizing him in certain ways. So maybe there'll be a strong enough emphasis on that. Now, if the Saints want to, I don't know, maximize their draft capital, let's say they want to trade Alvin Kamara, for another draft pick or something like that, somebody that can be beneficial, maybe a second or a third round pick. This may be controversial, but I would do it. I would do it. Now, you really would be doing this because you fell in love with what you saw from Kendre Miller the final game of the season, and also the little sprinkles of what you saw. That was good. But you're also going to be putting your eggs in a basket of a guy who has been injured. I mean, he's been injured like his last year at TCU. He's been in and out of the lineup in his rookie season. So you're really putting your eggs in one basket here, because to me, Jamal Williams ain't moving the needle. Like, I like Jamal Williams. I like his energy. I like his positive attitude, but he is not a number one running back type guy. Now, you can talk about like the offensive line and maybe the way that the offensive line is structured, it just does not cater to the running style of a Jamal Williams. He's more like a one-cut guy, or find a hole and just run through it. Kendre Miller, to me, has a little bit more wiggle. He's a much better receiver than a lot of people give him credit for. So if you want to trade Alvin Kamara for some draft capital, I wouldn't be objective to that. I mean, I think that you can end up like maybe finding a running back that can be able to give you a little something that can accompany Jamal Williams and Kendre Miller if you want to go that route. But if you keep Alvin Kamara, at least you have somebody that's going to give him the football, and you know that you're going to get some levels of production out of Alvin Kamara. And I said it, like, Alvin Kamara is not washed. Alvin Kamara, there's nothing wrong with Alvin Kamara at all. I feel like the way that the Saints utilized him, or how they did not utilize him, is the reason why some of us have our reservations and our feelings about Alvin Kamara right now. I feel like it's more so the coaching, more coaching than Alvin Kamara. I think that in the right scheme, in the right situation, Alvin Kamara will look like Christian McCaffrey, because everybody thought that what was going on with Chris McCaffrey towards the last few years, him in Carolina. People thought like he was winding down, too much wear and tear. They ran this guy into the ground. Oh, he ain't got it anymore. Now look at Christian McCaffrey. He's more than likely going to be winning Offensive Player of the Year. He's playing in the Super Bowl. More times than not, he's putting the 49ers on his back. He scores touchdowns every single week. So sometimes it's about the situation that you're in, the scheme that you're a part of. So I think that if you keep him around, at least you know that you're going to maximize his potential and get the most out of Alvin Kamara. And I'm not falling for that whole, he old, he washed, he getting up there in 30 like that. Those are narratives that we just kind of run with, and people just, it just becomes, I guess, like a stereotype over the course of time, right? It's just when a running back is 30, he no longer can provide a spark. Like, nah, I'm not buying that. I'm not buying that at all. So that's the way I feel about that. But let's go ahead and talk a little bit about, I've seen a couple comments inside of the chat talking about the offensive line. Now, I mentioned Clint Kubiak coming in as the Saints offensive coordinator. For those that just joining us, this is what we've been talking about before I took the questions. But Clint Kubiak being the new offensive coordinator for the New Orleans Saints, we know more than likely they're going to be running an offense kind of similar to that of the San Francisco 49ers, right? And we know that the 49ers like to, use a lot of motion. We know that, they rely on these athletic offensive linemen that they have. I mean, we know Trent Williams, he has on top of him having like one of the biggest mean streaks among offensive line. He ain't scared to turn it up and bring all the smoke. But on top of that, he's one of the most athletic left tackles in NFL and probably in NFL history, how talented he is. Like a guy that big should not be that fast, that strong. He's a freak of nature. The good thing about this NFL draft and what I've seen is this is a really good draft for the tackle position. You can get yourself a really good offensive lineman, a left tackle in the first round, right? I mean, you think about Joe Alt, Fuagua, like you think about all these different guys, the offensive lineman out of Penn State. You think about all these different guys that they have on the offensive line. And these guys are freakishly strong and they're super athletic. And I feel like the Saints need to kind of revamp their offensive line. I think that they need to put an emphasis, and they have an opportunity to do so. I don't feel like they're going to bring back Andrews Pete. I think we've seen enough. I mean, Andrews Pete did himself a huge favor by going out there, putting forward a really good effort at left tackle. So somebody is going to pay him at that left tackle position, and he's going to get himself some money. So kudos to him. But I just think that it's time to move on. I think that, this is an opportunity for you to be able to build on that left side. We know that when you're talking about the right side, that's more so of the big nasties over there. Those are the maulers. Those are the guys that'll push you to hell out of the way, right? And on the left side, you have more of the athletic type guys. The left tackle is the the athlete. I mean, we know Terod Armstead throughout all those years. I mean, he ran the fastest 40 still to this day among offensive linemen in NFL combine. There's an opportunity for the Saints to be able to fix that left side, and it can get a little bit more speed and a little bit more athleticism over there. Now, I know this may not be popular opinion. I know we love ourselves the skill position. I know that we want that quarterback, but it doesn't seem like the Saints kind of echo our sentiments. It seems like they're trying to put an emphasis on trying to protect Derek Carr. Everything about his contract extension not extension, but them restructuring his deal pretty much entails that. I would be shocked. I mean, absolutely shocked if the New Orleans Saints were to draft a quarterback in the first round. I feel like they're going to put a lot of emphasis on the offensive line, and they're going to draft themselves an offensive lineman in the first round. So to me, I think that this is an opportunity for the New Orleans Saints to go out here and get themselves an athletic left tackle. And looking at the guys that I feel like are going to be there at 14, I would go with Tyler Guyton. Tyler Guyton out of Oklahoma. He fits that mold. He's a big guy. He's super athletic. He's really strong. He really impressed at the combine. For Agua, I feel like that would be probably my number two, based on he would be my number one if it was a different offensive coordinator. But I just feel like what the Saints are going to try to do, and what I feel like Clint Kubiak is going to bring to the table, if anything we've seen in San Francisco kind of gives us that idea, I think the Saints are going to need an athletic offensive lineman to do that. So to me, I think the Saints need to go with Tyler Guyton in the first round to help, to solidify that offensive line, to give it a little bit more athleticism, and also be able to do some of the things that they need to do in order for this offense to be efficient. And so they definitely need to restructure that offensive line. This is an opportunity to do so. They let go of Doug Marrone, which I feel was a good idea. It was time to go in a different direction. To me, there's two options that you can go with. I feel like the Saints, this is my opinion, I think they need to give Jari Evans that job on a full-time basis. Jari Evans is a really good offensive lineman. I don't think I'm telling anybody anything they don't already know. He's been a part of this coaching staff as an offensive line assistant. He's a really smart guy, really smart person, really hardworking person. And I think based on his coaching style, my opportunities to really get to know him, I feel like he has something to bring to the table. He has something to give. To me, I would go with Jari Evans as the next offensive line coach. But that's not, that's not up to me. That's way beyond my pay grade. But I think Tyler Guyton would be a good fit for a Clint Kubiak type offense, and it would actually be a little bit of a fire starter, in my opinion, to what the offense can actually be. You have yourself all athletic offensive linemen, something that the Saints have been lacking since Teron Armstead left. Um, I don't know what's going to happen with Trevor Penny. I would probably push him to the inside. Especially if you're going to be running the football, he definitely kind of fits that mold to be able to maul guys, push guys out of the way. He basically thrives, in run blocking. That's the reason why the Saints kind of like him so much. I mean, because he's not afraid to finish a play. So I would push him on the inside. Get a guy like Tyler Guyton on the outside. Eric McCoy still be there. Cesar Ruiz and I don't know what's going to happen with Ryan Ramczyk. I didn't hear anything about a retirement or anything like that. So I'm pretty sure that he'll probably come back, and that can be your offensive line. So those are the things that I would do to change the offensive line. If you're not happy with Trevor Penny, you still feel like he still leaves a lot to be desired. Well, you see and you take a look at what you have. Nick Seldevery, has he taken a step forward, or maybe take a chance in some of the later rounds drafting another offensive lineman? But in order for the Saints to get where they need to be, they're going to have to fix this offensive line, because we know that Derek Carr, give him some time, he'll be able to deliver the football. But when he feels like he's under duress, that clock starts to speed up, and sometimes he doesn't make the best decisions. I mean, even he would say that. So that's what I would do. And it looks like that's what the Saints are going to do. So if I am a Saints fan, I'm looking at the offensive line. I'm looking at who I feel the Saints will be able to bring in to be able to help fix that offensive line, because based on everything that I'm seeing from the restructuring of the deal, they're committed to Derek Carr, whether we like it or not. Whether we want them to go out here to get a quarterback or not, they're committed to Derek Carr. They feel like Derek Carr can get them where they need to be. And rather we believe that or not, there's nothing really we can do about it. So it's best for us to kind of just look at the offensive line. And if they decide to go in a different direction, just be excited about that. But that's what I would do. I would go with Tyler Guyton. You need some athleticism at the left tackle position, something that they haven't had since Teron Armstead signed with Miami. Mickey going to draft a 6'7" freak athlete that runs a 4.4 but can't play. Well, look, I don't know if they're going to do that or not. And I will hope not. I will hope that they'll learn their lesson. Now, if we're talking pass rush, if the Saints decide in the first round, we need to get somebody like opposite of Carl Granderson. We see that Cam Jordan is kind of winding down a little bit. I would go with Jared Verse out of Florida State. This is a proven product. He has that real good, some first step. He's strong. He has that a little bit. I don't want to say he is Michael Parsons, but he has a little bit of that in him. I think that you have a guy that is more than likely going to be a double-digit sack type guy, pending any type of injury. That would be more of a sure thing. But I just think that you want to, if you're bringing in a new offensive coordinator, right? He's a highly touted offensive coordinator. You're going to want to appease him. And by appeasing him is, if I'm going to be working with Derek Carr, y'all can at least give me an offensive lineman or something like that, to be able to help me structure the offense that I want to run. So that's how I'm looking at it. But if they go on the defensive side of football, I would go with Jared Verse out of Florida State. It's Fat Tuesday tomorrow, them raggedy cheating mofos. Fat Tuesday ain't tomorrow, is it? Is it? Oh, I mean, let me see. Still need a quarterback behind the new and improved offensive line. Look, Big Sean, look, I get it. Right? I get it. I understand how people feel about the quarterback position, but man, we just basically just getting our blood pressure up and frustrating ourselves. The Saints clearly have committed to Derek Carr. Whether we like it or not, they have committed themselves to Derek Carr, and it's nothing we can really do about it. So the best thing for us to do is, as Saints fans, if we're not going to just chunk up the deuce and say, I'll see y'all in 2025 or 2026, is for us to try to find ways. Okay, look, they're not going to get rid of this guy. They want him, they believe in him, they commit to him. So what can the Saints do to be able to basically make up for some of his imperfections? Right? You run the football. You get a little bit of a smash mouth style. You get stronger on the offensive line. You get more athletic on the offensive line, right? You get more skilled players on the outside that can be able to get yards after the catch. The guys that you have that are on your team, the players on your team, you find their strengths, right? You maximize their strengths and minimize their weaknesses. That's what we're dealing with here. And I get it, right? Yeah, we need a new quarterback. I'm with you. I'm with you. But it doesn't seem like the Saints are going to go into the 2024 draft looking to draft Caleb Williams, looking to draft Drake May. Hell, not even looking to draft Michael Penix or Bo Nix or any of these other guys that are going to be some of those later round guys, but still have the potential to be a starting quarterback. I don't see it. I feel like it's a waste of time. I feel like they're going to go back and look back at this and realize they made a mistake, regardless if you're committed to Derek Carr or not. You still want to look, this is a draft with a bunch of quarterbacks that have the potential to be starting quarterbacks and franchise changing quarterbacks. And you don't want to be that team that didn't want to draft a quarterback when John Elway and Jim Kelly and Dan Marino were on the clock. You don't want to be that, right? You don't want to be the arrogant team to be like, we got our quarterback. And then you had opportunity, like how the Saints had opportunity to draft Lamar Jackson, to be looking back, watching a guy win multiple MVPs, and you had opportunity to get him, and you even doubled down on the fact of not getting him. You traded up to get somebody else. You don't want to be that team. So to me, I don't like, I know they say that, well, they don't say this every single year, but this is a draft with so many different talented quarterbacks that it would be a shame for you not to try to get one of these guys. And this might be a draft where the Saints don't get one of those guys. And hey, it might be years down the line where we say, man, I thought this was going to be the draft that changed the game when it comes to quarterbacks, and none of them guys panned out, or maybe two of them panned out. Maybe it's one of those drafts, but you don't want to be a part of that draft where you have a quarterback that you have to squint an eye to say that he's good enough to lead you anywhere, when you had opportunity to get a quarterback that can be your future, even if he's sitting on a bench learning under the quarterback that you said that is your guy for the next 3 to 4 years. At least you have a quarterback that's waiting in the wings, and when that quarterback decides to retire or you decide to move on, you can have yourself a Jordan Love type situation where, you basically lose your franchise legendary quarterback and replace him with a guy with just as much potential as the quarterback that you lost has. So it's one of those things, I do feel like maybe you need to take a look at it, but we all know that unfortunately the Saints don't really pay that much attention to what the fans really want. I get it, all of us play armchair, couch potato GM. We don't know the ins and outs of, everyday football life and from an executive perspective. But, I do feel like this might be a mistake if you don't end up drafting a quarterback, in this draft. Even if it's like in the second round or something like that, I feel like it will end up being a mistake. Take note from the Chiefs. They had Alex Smith, now Mahomes. Yep. I mean, but that was a smart decision. The Green Bay Packers in 2020, that was a smart decision. You got to do what's best for your organization. You got to do what's best for your organization. You can't be so hell bent on trying to keep people's feelings, and protecting their feelings. That's what I'm trying to say. They're trying to protect their feelings. You can't do that all the time. Like sometimes people are going to get hurt, but it's a business at the end of the day. And what you want to do is you want to make sure that your team is set up to win for years to come. And right now, the Saints are in a position where nobody is really expecting them to win anything, right? Like you don't have to like go into, oh man, it's win now or never. Like every team should be trying to win the Super Bowl. But this is an opportunity for you to create steps to not only be a good team in 2024, but be a good team in 2025 and 26 and so on and so forth. You can't be looking at right now. You got to be thinking about the long game. And by drafting a quarterback, there is no other there is not a more important position than a quarterback position. A left tackle is extremely important, and I feel like the Saints need to address that with one of these really talented offensive linemen in this year's draft. But the quarterback is the straw that stirs the drink. You ain't going far without a serviceable quarterback. And you're definitely not going to have sustainable success without a good quarterback. You'll be able to do a little something with a serviceable quarterback if you put a good defense around them, skilled players around them. You'll be able to win some football games. Hell, you might even find yourself in the Super Bowl. But you're not going to win consistently because there's going to come a time when, because of that player is being so good at managing a game, you're going to have to pay him, right? Like think about it with Daniel Jones. Daniel Jones is not very good. Like he's average at best, but the Giants they came up with a decision. They had to decide if they were going to pay him or they weren't. And they decided to pay him. So that player that is serviceable, but not a game changer, you got to pay him X amount of dollars. And now because you paid him X amount of dollars, you have no choice but to make him the focal point of your offense. And the question is, can he carry that offense without the assist of the players that were around him? Because once you pay that quarterback, we know that you can't pay everybody. And if those guys around him that were making plays are still there, they won't be there. Because those guys have played themselves out of their contract and you can't afford them. So you got to think about that. You got to think about that because if you're drafting a quarterback, you got to make sure that in a couple years, there's going to come a time when he's going to have to be good enough to lead your team to victory. He's going to have to be good enough to be able to do it with average, good, but not elite talent because he is taking up the majority of the cap. Do you have that guy? And right now, the Saints don't. So this could be opportunity for you to set yourself up to get to that point. But you got to do it. Dre Day says, TJ, it is Super Bowl next year in New Orleans. Is that the script? I don't know what the script is. I mean, I would love to see the Saints being a Super Bowl in New Orleans. That would be a dream come true to a lot of Saints fans. Definitely it'd be a dream come true to me, to even see him in the Super Bowl. I don't care what he play. They can play on the moon. All I can is the Super Bowl. But yeah, I don't know if it's a script or not. I don't know. But it would be good to see them in a Super Bowl. But they got a long way to go before we start talking about Super Bowl, to be honest. Super Bowl 59 in New Orleans in February 2025. I'll take it. I guess you mean a Super Bowl 40. Yeah, 59. Yeah, wow, man, it's crazy. Super Bowl 59. That is absolutely insane, man. They had those many Super Bowls. I had to think about that for a second. I'm like, wow, man, that's crazy, man. They had these many Super Bowls. But yeah, let's see. TJ, would you draft a Mike T type receiver or give A.T. Perry a real shot if Mike leaves? I don't think it's a matter of if anymore, Keno. I think it's a matter of when. I think that bridge has been burned. Look, I'm just kind of reluctant about giving a guy the reins. I'm not saying that A.T. Perry doesn't have the capabilities of being a top receiver, of being that breakout star. I mean, if you're into Pro Football Focus, they had like players that are set up for a breakout season in 2024, and A.T. Perry was on that list. And everything about A.T. Perry kind of screams breakout. If you watched him at Wake Forest, if you watched him towards the end of the season, if you look at the fact that what he had 12 catches and 4 touchdowns, like that's insane, man. Like he has a touchdown for every three receptions that he gets. That's insane. So every 3 receptions he have going to end up in a touchdown. That's pretty freakish right there. So if he had 24 receptions, he'll have 8 touchdowns. But anyway, it's pretty incredible to see how he came on towards the end. But that just came because, Mike T wasn't available and, the opportunities kind of presented himself. And I would give him an opportunity. I would give him a chance but it wouldn't be to a point where I'm just like, I'm going into 2024 like, man, H.E. Perry is going to be my guy. Like, you got to earn it. You can't say, oh, man, you had a really, like, you had a really good showing towards the end of 2023, so we're going to make you the third string wide receiver. No, man, you got to go out there and earn it. You should still be looking, whether it's for free agency or the draft, for a wide receiver that can bring something to the table. Don't just give it to A.T. Perry because of what he did towards the end of the season. We kind of fell into that trap a little bit when it came to Marquez Callaway. Callaway in his rookie season, he started to come on because opportunity presented itself, and we anointed him as the next breakout guy, and it didn't pan out. All they had him doing was running quick slants. So I don't want to just give him the keys to the car. He has to earn it, right? He has to earn the privilege of driving a car on a weekend. No pun intended. But I like what I see. I think that is not an outlier, but he has to earn it. I wouldn't go into 2024 though, King Arthur, just saying you're our number 3 guy. Can't do that, man. You got to earn it. You gotta earn your spot. If he earns his spot, if he doubles down on what we've seen towards the end of the season, give him what he wants because he earned it. What did Jameis Williams? I'm about to say Jameis Williams. Jameis Winston say at Barstool? I don't know. I didn't even really catch the entire interview. I didn't. Man, I had a lot going on today. It's the beginning of the month, so it's time to pay them bills and do all these different reports for the radio station. So that consumed the majority of my time today. So I didn't get an opportunity to really check it out. So man, I was like back and forth, from work, trying to finish the deadlines, picking up Paxton, coming home. Like it's been crazy. So I didn't get a chance to check it out. So I will. I don't know exactly what he said. Let's see. It's got to be to a point where every year I don't expect us to win anything. I watch and hope that they prove me wrong. Yeah, I mean, that's all you can do. I think that the days of high expectations for the New Orleans Saints are kind of, I don't want to say over, but kind of put on hold for now. This is a team right now, we as fans are trying to figure out who the heck they are. So you want to go into the season believing that the team is going to be better than they were last season. You want to go into the season believing that, but you also want to have a careful optimism, right? You want to be optimistic because every team starts at 0-0. No matter if you won a Super Bowl or you didn't, you made a deep run in the playoffs or you didn't, everybody starts at 0-0. So with that being said, every team has a chance when week 1, when the first kickoff starts. It's a matter of what you do with those 17 games during the totality of the season that defines what type of season you're going to have. But I just think that we just, and you're absolutely right, Sean, we just want to see something that was different, something that can resembles a trend in the right direction. And based on the low expectations, based on the head coach and not really being sold on him, you're just looking for little gleams of hope at this point. And if they can give us that, then I think that'll be good enough. It's almost like the Lions, right? The Lions played the Green Bay Packers, right? The final game of the season back in 2022. They knocked the Green Bay Packers out of the playoffs to give them an opportunity to make the playoffs. And that kind of started the season that they had this year, right? It was kind of a little bit of a fire starter. Some people will look at this like how the Saints ended the season against Atlanta. Some fans feel like, man, too little, too late. Some fans feel like, well, we won 4 out of our last 5. That's something that you can actually build on. I don't know. But I think Saints fans are just looking for something that resembles change. Clint Kubiak signing him and what he represents and where he comes from is kind of a trend in the right direction. But can you put it together on a consistent basis? Is the question. We'll see. Hunter Renfrow coming. I don't know if he's coming or not. I'm pretty sure, like, if I think he is a free agent. I'm pretty sure the Saints are going to take a look at him, and I'm pretty sure that Derek Carr will probably lobby for him to come here. AT had a 3rd round projection. Still don't see how he slipped that like that. I don't know either. He owns every statistical record at Wake Forest. He was one of the best wide receivers in football during that time. But I guess it's just the fact that he played at Wake Forest. I don't know. He kind of slipped through the cracks. I'm not sure. But I'm glad he did because, he can be a valuable asset to the New Orleans Saints if he lives up to that potential. I thought Perry was a 2nd round pick. Still can't believe he fell to the 6th round. DA has no excuses going into 2024. I mean, well, we already had this conversation, Derek. He shouldn't have had excuses in 2023. But yeah, man. I mean, I don't know how you can sell Dennis Allen if the Saints don't make the playoffs in 2024. I don't. I don't know how you can sell it. I look. You would have to be the greatest spin doctor of all time. You gotta be. You gotta be the most silver tongue mother lover that ever walked the face of the earth to sell a coach that has 3 seasons without making a postseason with the type of talent that they had. So this is do or die for Dennis Allen. This is do or die for him. Make no mistake about it. Make no mistake about it. This is do or die for him. Saints fans are already going into the season not believing in this guy. So he's going to have to make it happen. Is there a receiver you like in this draft? Honestly, I mean, we all like Thomas, like out of LSU. I mean, of course, Marvin Harrison, who will not be there. I think you got to think about like some of the wide receivers that are probably going to be some of your late round picks. You got to think about, man. To me, not really. Because they're saying that this is a deep draft for wide receivers. I mean, let me pull up a few names here. I'm gonna pull up a few names because I mean, there's some guys that I think about, that I feel like could be some talented guys, and I'll just break down a few of them. I know somebody was going to ask me this question, so I had it up, but let me go ahead and do that if you afford me just a second. All right, so let me go ahead and read some of these names. I mean, okay, so we know about Marvin Harrison Jr., top guy. Malik Neighbors from LSU, we know that. Keon Coleman, that would be a guy that probably would be there around the 2nd round, maybe. Troy Franklin out of Oregon, I like him. Brian Thomas out of LSU, he can probably be that Michael Thomas replacement that we're looking for. This is a guy that really did himself a service at the Senior Bowl. Lad McConkey, he did a really good job. He can be a really good slot receiver. If Bill Belichick was still a head coach, he'll probably be in New England somewhere. Xavier Worthy out of Texas is a good, talented guy. Jermaine Burton probably would be there for you, like in some of the later rounds. So those are some of the guys that that are some of the top. But I look at what the Saints actually need. You got the speed in Shaheed and Olave. You got the route running ability in Olave and Shaheed, luckily. You got the possession guy in A.T. Perry. So what are you actually looking for? A guy that kind of can have a little bit of a change of pace, like a McConkey. If you're going after a guy like Hunter Renfrow, why not get a guy at a cheaper price at Lad McConkey? I mean, That's what I would do. But I think that the Saints have the style and finesse already. So if you just want to kind of add, if you want to try to add to it, or you're not going into 2024 just saying, okay, Shaheed is going to be my number 2, then you want to try to go after like maybe like a Keon Coleman in the second round, Jermaine Burton in some of the later rounds out of Alabama, somebody like that. Or you can, if you want to get like a slot receiver, maybe like Lad McConkey will be there in one of the later rounds as well. So those are some of the guys that I think of, because you're not getting Harrison, you're not getting Neighbors. Even like I'm mentioning Coleman, but even that might be a stretch. If he goes out there and have a hellified combine, he might be gone. So those are a couple names that I can think of right off the bat. But it depends on what type of direction you're going in. If you're happy with the wide receiver core that you have, and I didn't even mention Shaq Davis. Like, who knows what he can actually be? Maybe he came on, maybe he's improved. So who knows? But we'll see. Super, thank you very much for 499 says, is there a way we make the playoffs and not bring DA back? Sign me up for that package. Super, not happening. If he makes the playoffs, he coming back. Okay. I mean, there's no reason to fire him at that point. Like, I'm not the biggest DA fan, but if he makes it to the playoffs, then you gotta concede that he's getting better as a coach. Because his first season he went 7-10. The next season he went 9-8. And if he makes the playoffs, then you gotta say that he's better than he was last year. So I mean, there's no need to fire him, and they're not going to fire him. So I know we try to find ways to try to get this dude up out of here, but if he's trending in the right direction, you can't fire him. TJ, is this thing showing you super chats? Yeah, it's showing it to me. I think I read yours already, if I'm not mistaken, Keno. I think you. This is it right here. So maybe it's like one of them questions that was asked. The only thing about this new platform is it doesn't separate the super chats like the original platform that I has. Like, it was so convenient because all I had to do was just hit the super chat button and I can be able to read all the super chats at once. And with this, it's like you basically have to scroll down, and if the chat is going too fast, then I might skip it, and it's not something that I want to do, and I apologize for that. But I think I read it. If that's the only one that you posted, King Arthur, let me know. If it was another one that I missed, just let me know. Josh says, TJ, be honest, we need Mike Dick back right now. Nah, I mean, look, if you really want to see the Superdome empty, bring back Mike Dicker. Bring him back. Bring him back. But they definitely don't need that. Devontae Walker is another one. Yeah, Devontae is a good solid receiver too. He's a good solid receiver too. I mean, there's a few more, that I didn't mention. I mean, Walker, for those that don't know, he's a wide receiver out of North Carolina. Of course, Breeden Rice, the son of Jerry Rice, had a really good showing at the Senior Bowl. Show a little bit of a mean streak out there, man. Show a little bit of aggression. That's something that is refreshing. Like, he's not coming out there, oh, I'm the son of a legend, so give me a job. Like, he's going out there trying to earn it. There's a couple more guys that kind of stood out to me out there. Luke McCaffrey is another one. The brother of Christian McCaffrey played for Rice. He had a good showing out there as well. So, I mean, I'm the thing about it is, because I'm looking at how this. I basically I want people to understand how I evaluate and how I like kind of judge my decision making when it comes to the draft. I look at what the Saints do in the offseason, and I kind of apply that to my logic when it comes to the draft. Like, by them restructuring Derek Carr's deal, it just tells me that they're committed to him. So by them committing to him, combined with the fact that Clint Kubiak is coach, I think that they're going to go after an offensive lineman in the first round. So with that, you got to kind of think about, okay, why am I going to be spending time on looking at guys like Michael Penix or Bo Nix? Probably not going to be there when the Saints were picking in the first round, especially if they're picking, offensive linemen, and they're not going to be there in the second round. It's just not going to happen. Maybe Bo Nix. It all depends, right? So there's no need for me to be spending the majority of my time looking at Bo Nix or Michael Penix spinning. It's impressive. I'm looking at Joe Milton. I'm looking at Spencer Rattler. I'm looking at, I don't know, man. Guys like that, Hartman, Sam Hartman, or something like that. I'm looking at guys like that that are going to be there in the later rounds and maybe be able to give you something, kind of like Jake Haener, which Jake Haener was the Senior Bowl MVP last year. A lot of people don't even realize that, but hey, he was. But that is how I apply my judgment. I'm not going to like when I go to Indianapolis. I'm going to say when when I go to Indianapolis for the combine. It's not the fact that I'm not going to be looking at some of these other positions. I'm not going to spend most of my time like looking at running backs and top tier running like wide receivers that I know for a fact the Saints have no chance in HE double hockey sticks of getting. I'm focusing on like the offensive line. I'm focusing on the pass rush. Things I know that are going to be beneficial to the New Orleans Saints. And I'm looking at guys that are mostly projected to be some of those later round picks. Those guys are kind of like diamonds in the rough. If you get them, they'll probably, give you a really good return on the investment. Saying, okay, man, we need Michael Penix. We do. Who doesn't need Michael Penix? He's a really good quarterback. We need Caleb Williams. Well, of course, the Saints need him. But we know that the chances of getting a guy like that based on the decisions that they made in the offseason are slim to none. So that is why I'm telling individuals why you're up here like saying the Saints need to get this guy and getting upset and mad that they're not going to get the guy anyway. Take the time out to take a look at some of these later round picks, these diamonds in the rough that can actually be beneficial to your football team and put more emphasis on that. Look like if you listen to the decisions that the Saints are making, you can kind of tell what type of direction that they're going to go in or what they are trying to put an emphasis on. I'm not saying that it's going to happen, but there's a strong chance that it will happen based on the decisions that they made with contracts, extensions, restructuring, et cetera, et cetera. So that is how I approach evaluating talent, evaluating some of the players, evaluating positions. Thoughts on that defensive end out of Bama, Dallas Turner. Dallas Turner is one of the best pass rush in the entire draft, and the chances of him being there when the Saints pick at 14 are very, very slim. He's strong, he's fast, he's athletic, more capable of being a double-digit sack guy. I gotta be honest with you. Motor kind of running a little cold at times. I don't know if it's the fact that, some of these guys at high profile schools, they kind of want to kind of preserve themselves at times. But I think that there's something there. A team is going to have to keep them kind of motivated a little bit. I know all players say, oh, man, I don't need anything to motivate me, but sometimes you do. But I think that he can be a double-digit sack guy pending coming into the right situation. But he won't be there when the Saints pick. I'll be shocked. So, but I think Jared Verse will. Jamari Thrash, if we can get him in a later round. Yeah, Thrash, he's good as well. Good talented guy, good route running. Not the best route runner, but solid. And not afraid to get the football either. Not afraid to get it. Pratt. Nah. I like Michael Pratt, and I get it. Tulane guy, but I can think of several other quarterbacks in the draft that I would select before I go with Michael Pratt. Sorry, that good guy, warrior spirit, tough, checks all the boxes when it comes to that. But they got other quarterbacks out there that are better than he is. This may sound this might make some people upset, but may not even be drafted. And if he does, it probably would be like 6th, 7th round or something like that. I'd take a flyer on him. I don't think that he's going to be like in the top 4 rounds or anything like that. I don't. Maybe I could be wrong, but I didn't get that. Cam Jordan take a season off. He just slowing us down way too much. I think Cam Jordan had an injury. He was dealing with. He was his percentage of snaps went down, and I mean, combined with the fact that what you just alluded to, LBZ, it's Father Time is undefeated. As much as you want to be out there, as much as you want to bring something to the table, as much as you want to be that player you once was, Father Time is undefeated. So I'm not saying that he can't offer you anything. I just think that the Saints need to go into 2024 now relying solely on the 35-year-old defensive end whose best days are behind him. Not to say that he won't show you flashes or give you those moments like, man, that's why we love Cam Jordan. But this is a young man's league, man. And you can't be around here, protecting the feelings and running your organization, giving out lifetime achievement awards in the form of contract extensions. You got to rely on some of these younger talent, these younger hybrid type guys, and get yourself somebody that's going to go opposite of Carl Granderson and let him eat. And put Cam Jordan in there. I mean, he still can provide a spark when it comes to run support. He still can provide a spark when it comes to leadership and helping guys get to where they need to be. But he shouldn't be the focal point of your defensive line at this stage of his career. Not a knock on Cam Jordan. That's just reality. Troy Franklin, more of a Saints receiver when they will be picking mid-rounds. Yeah, I mean, but you're going to be shocked, man. There going to still be some talented guys out there. And then also you got to take a look at the combine as well. I mean, you look at the Senior Bowl and, it is what it is. It's the Senior Bowl. But you're going to have like other wide receivers that declare for the draft that are underclassmen that might, be there in the mid rounds as well. So you got to take that into account. So let's be mindful of that as well. Draft offensive line and D line games are won in the trenches. I agree with that. Like I said, I definitely feel like you need to draft the offensive lineman, athletic offensive lineman. Tyler Guyton is my guy, based on the Clint Kubiak hire, and Jared Verse would be my top pass rusher if you decide that you want to get a defensive end in the first round. I wouldn't be opposed to Jazon Newton in the first round. Look, there's a lot of talented guys out there. I mean, honestly, there's a lot of talented players in this draft. Wide receivers, like a lot of talented guys, but in my opinion, not too many guys that I feel like are going to be franchise guys in the next 4 to 5 years. Might get a few. I mean, there's a few that come into the league all the time, every single year, but I don't feel like this the draft where you're gonna be like, dog, this was an embarrassment of riches. It's like the what was that, the 2015 draft when you had Odell Beckham Jr. and Mike Evans and Brandon Cooks, and like that's when you had like that was just a crazy draft right there with wide receivers. I don't feel like this is the draft. Make sure if we draft an O-line, he plays for a Power 5 school. That way we know he'll handle the brothers in the NFL. Trevor Penning messed around and found out. Yeah, I mean, look, sometimes it's good. You can take a gamble on a player that went to a smaller school and he might pan out for you. And then there are times where you have to go with more of a sure thing. And I just think that the Saints at this stage, they need to go with more so of a sure thing than a gamble, especially with the limited picks that they have. You gotta get them right. You gotta get them right this time because you don't have a margin for error in this draft. So you gotta hit more than you miss. No way Dallas Turner drops to 14 if he's there and the Saints ain't running to the phone. They stupid. Yeah, then I'll be shocked. I mean, the Saints have moved up before, but I don't think that's going to happen with Dallas Turner. What is your opinion on Byron Murphy and Devontae Sweat? Don't really have an opinion on him. Don't really, to be honest with you. I'm I really don't have an honest. I really don't have an honest opinion on. I don't. Byron Murphy. What are we talking about? Are we talking about the cornerback Byron Murphy? I mean, I don't know. I don't have an opinion on him. To be honest with you. Let's see, Spencer Rattler. Yeah, I'm a Spencer Rattler guy. I know some people don't like him. Some people feel like, oh man, he ain't got nothing. Like the guy is talented. I'm just saying, like he goes to the right situation. This dude can be really, really good. And I want people like I don't say this stuff to make myself sound like I'm up here and people are down here. And if I do, I apologize. But I do feel like sometimes we fall for the dirt sheets. We fall for the talking heads. Like even when it comes to me, that's why I tell everybody, like, just don't take my word for it. Like, go and do your own research. Go and do like your own tale of the tape. Like, go and watch this stuff. Because sometimes we have to understand, and this is what I want people to understand. It's about ratings, it's about hot takes, it's about likes and follows, it's about reshares and retweets. That is what it's about. And a lot of times these guys are being served cliff notes by those interns that work at these networks, by these individuals that serve as their assistants. They give them all these little cliff notes, and these guys get these cliff notes and they mold their assessment based on the cliff notes that they're given. And I feel like sometimes because a person is on television, a person is a respectable writer, a person is just in our face all the time, we have a tendency of just buying what they sell us. Sometimes a guy can go to a school and they play for a university that does not put them in the best position to succeed. And sometimes their numbers may reflect that. I live in South Carolina, so I watch quite a bit of South Carolina football. There's not too many talented wide receivers at South Carolina right now. Good talented guys, but not to a point where it's like they're going to be getting picked in the first round or they're going to be top 5 or something. They're just not. And I get it. We look at, it's the SEC. But we got to look at it. Everybody's not LSU. Everybody's not Alabama. Everybody's not, Georgia. There are still some SEC schools that are struggling to find talent because they are fighting to get talent from Georgia. They're fighting to get talent out of Louisiana and Alabama, right? So sometimes you got to kind of put a team together that's middle tier, might go to the Poinsettia Bowl out there, in San Diego somewhere, or, might go to the Cheez-It Bowl, but there's not a bunch of talent that's around him. And I feel like when it comes to Spencer Rattler, he has the tools to be successful. He has the tools to be a franchise quarterback, and put him in the right situation, he can thrive. He has the arm talent. He has the knowledge. And there were games where he looks like he was the best quarterback on the field, best player on the field. And I'm just going by what I see. And I watched quite a bit of his football games. Think he's a talented guy. Not saying he's a first round pick. Don't think that. Think based on his Senior Bowl performance, might fall to the 3rd, 4th round. I don't see him in the 2nd round. Maybe somebody just fell in love with his Oklahoma tape in his freshman year and said, man, no Spencer Rattler, no matter what. But all I'm saying is get him in the right situation. He is going to be a threat in the National Football League. I mean, if he goes to a team that doesn't have his best interests at heart, if he goes to a team that is not really, offensively driven, doesn't really have that mastermind, he might end up being middle tier. But I feel like if he goes to the right situation, maybe even sit for a year or two, I think that, he'll come out being what a team needs him to be. I mean, that's how I look at him. And I just ask people, like, sometimes when we hear names, we basically roll back to what we heard about them. It's okay to say I don't know about a person. Like I don't know everything. Like honestly, I don't know about every player that comes out. I just don't. Like I don't. So what I do is I do my due diligence. Sometimes I'm happy that I don't know because I can fall victim to some of the talking heads or clouded judgment. So I'm just asking people, like, before you say, when a person's name comes up, you say, oh no, not him. Before you do that, just take a look. Like, it's okay, man. It's okay to say, I'm not really familiar with your game, like Shaq would say, right? I wasn't familiar with you. It's okay. And go back and take a look. And maybe that person has something. Maybe they don't. But don't just go by, oh, I heard that, oh, he throws a lot of interceptions. Or just go to ESPN and be like, oh, well, he had 18 touchdowns and 9 interceptions. He must not be that good. Nah, he ain't good enough. You got to put this thing into context. So there are guys, like, if you, okay, let's take Patrick Mahomes. Patrick Mahomes went to Texas Tech. Patrick Mahomes wasn't like playing for no national championship. He wasn't playing for national championships out there in no Texas Tech. But when they saw him, they felt like he was a generational talent because of his arm strength and his ability. And he was proven right. So all I'm saying is, before we start saying, oh no, oh no, oh no, oh no, like, let's take the time out to, like, do some research. Like, I'm not, look, I ain't about to fake the funk. I'm not. I'm not. Like, if I don't know, I don't know. And I'll say I'll get back to you. But I'm not just going to sit up here and just say, oh man, like, go and read somebody's stats, take a look at it and be like, oh nah, he must not be that good. So let me just say he not good. And then be arguing up there like you've been watching this dude play for like all of his career. Like, why? Jared says, TJ, thoughts on the NFL coming to Brazil in September? I think it's a good move. I think, okay, I think that I think that it's a good move. I think that it's smart for business. We all know that the NFL are capitalists. So, if they go to Brazil, it's probably a nice little check coming behind it. So this shows you how the NFL is growing and people want to be a part of it. Says Sweat and Murphy DTs from Texas. Okay, Calvin. I honestly, I didn't know that. I mean, I was like, then when you say Byron Murphy, I'm thinking about the wide receiver. I mean, a cornerback from Minnesota. But nah, I get back to you on that. I make sure I take a look at him and take. I mean, Murphy. You know what I'm saying? I want to say from the defensive tackle, if I'm thinking about the same person, great athlete, but work in progress. If we're thinking about the same like the same defensive tackle, I think that he has some talent, but if we're talking about the same person, I think that it's probably one of those things that's like a work in progress. But let me go back. I'll take a look at him. Let's see. I missed the first hour. What were your thoughts on the hire, TJ? Sorry to ask this again, if already answered. I said, I like the fact that the Saints are going in a different direction, Caleb. I like the fact that they're trying to do something different. I like the fact that they're actually trying to go with something that has been proven to work. I'm not going to just go out here and just throw a Rex parade or a Zulu parade because he's here. You got to put the work in. And just because you come from a certain coaching tree doesn't always mean that your team is going to find the same level of success as that head coach did. So I think it's a step in the right direction. We know that the offense is going to be different. We know that it's going to look different. We know that it's going to give us some things that we feel like the Saints needed to embrace. Most importantly, motion. And I think that, some guys are going to be able to get opportunities and really show what they can do. So I think the hire is really good, but I got to see them put that work in. ESPN was talking about Chicago taking Williams. Guess what they had playing on the screen? Fields throwing multiple interceptions. You got to do some research. Yeah, I mean that's what it is. Like, in order for them to try to elevate one person and devalue another, they put that stuff up there. And if you're not careful, that stuff goes into your subconscious and you're like, man, this guy must not be very good. Like, I don't look. I stopped doing that a long time ago. Like, seriously. Like, I get it. I understand the entertainment aspect from the individuals that I've had opportunity and had a privilege of speaking with. I understand the game. I know the breaks. These guys are just trying to stay on TV. These guys are just trying to maintain their position. And I ain't mad at them. You know what I'm saying? Because they get paid very handsomely to do this, right? And if somebody just tells you, okay, man, I need you to be, straightforward but entertaining, and I'm gonna give you $250,000. I'm gonna give you $500,000. Oh hell, I'm gonna give you over $1,000,000. Guess what? You know what I'm saying? Like, you're gonna try to stay on TV. You're gonna try to keep that money train rolling. So I'm not mad at them getting money, but at the same time, we have to understand and put this thing into context and understand that their word is just not gospel. I'm saying this about myself. My word ain't gospel. I'm just up here giving you all my opinion about the Saints or any other sports team or any other player that I'm talking about. Do your own research. Like, don't just rely solely on those individuals because they're not always right. And they don't always have all the information and they don't always have all the answers. So there's that. Like, create your own conclusion. TJ, what you think about let me see, Bell out of FSU. I think tight end still a need. Oh yeah, yeah. Jaheim Bell. Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, got Anquan Bolden type tendencies in him. Like, tough guy, physical, can get that yak. He definitely will fit that. He definitely will fit that mold of a of the type of player that a Clint Kubiak offense would look like. Yeah, I like him a lot. That guy's physical, man. Now he a bully when he gets that football. He is an absolute bully. He's probably the closest thing I've seen to like Debo Samuels since Debo Samuel. I can see Cam Newton, Jameis, or Justin Fields starting at quarterback for Atlanta this year. I see Justin Fields starting for the Atlanta Falcons this year. I can see that. And honestly, that wouldn't be a bad idea for him. I think that Justin Fields is talented. I think that Justin Fields is a good quarterback. I think that with Zach Robinson coming over there to Atlanta, it can help him out. And the guy deserves. If they trade him, he doesn't deserve to get traded. Like, anybody that watched Justin Fields play, man, that guy was like the best part of the Chicago Bears. But you have the number 1 overall pick, and everybody's saying that you got a generational talent in Caleb Williams, and you don't want to be in that situation where the Carolina Panthers in, where people are like, man, CJ Stroud, man, that's the guy that you need to get. Nah, we're going to go with Bryce Young. You don't want to be that. So this is a copycat league. It goes back to what we said at the top of the show. It's a copycat league. And when you see something that works, you go after it, and this is a sure thing. And CJ Stroud was more of a sure thing than Bryce Young was. Bryce Young just, I guess, had like the arm talent, but CJ Stroud, proved that he was the better pro. The players are going to love playing in Brazil, says D. Granger. I'm pretty sure they will. Heard it's a beautiful place. Hello, Who Dat family, Mr. Me and the Crimes. What's going on, Barbara? Thank you for being here. Y'all make sure y'all subscribe to Barbara's channel. She's doing a really good job over there, giving good quality content on the New Orleans Saints. So y'all make sure y'all support Barbara. Barbara supports everybody. She watches everybody. She shows love to everybody. So make sure y'all show love to her and subscribe to her channel. Says, I know I'm thinking ahead, but do Derek Carr needs to play more in preseason because of the new OC? It wouldn't hurt, Linda. It wouldn't hurt at all. But I mean, he played quite a bit in preseason last year, didn't he? Well, not really, but he played a few snaps. I think we all fell in love with that drive and said, okay, that's enough. But I don't know if he needs to play in preseason or I don't know. I feel like preseason is a little bit of a double-edged sword here. I mean, yeah, you get more of a rapport with your teammates, get that chemistry going, but at the same time, it's like you're still risking a chance of your quarterback getting injured or taking unnecessary punishment for an exhibition game. So it's a double-edged sword, but I mean, there's no right or wrong answer about that. I like Ballman Jr., and he can block and a cheap backup. Yeah. Let's see. No more unheard of early round draft picks anymore. Saints, please draft proven talent. I agree. Bell reminds me of Vernon Davis. Thank you, TJ. No problem, Barbara. Misdemeanor Crimes, what's your channel? I think it pretty much is is under that name, if I'm not mistaken, isn't it, Barbara? Or I think if you type in that name, it'll come up. See, and no more drafting players to play out of position. Yeah, I mean, you gotta go with what works. And eventually you'll get to that point, where you can actually invest in some of this talent that comes out of North Shore Community College or whatever. I don't know. But right now, man, you need to go with more of a sure thing. Like you gotta make sure that you're rolling with what works. And this is an opportunity for the Saints to get it right. But I want to say thank you all for checking out the State of the Saints podcast. Really do appreciate it. Thank you all for all the love and support you show the podcast. Thank y'all for being patient. Last week for those that just tuned in, I was focusing on my new podcast, the Unapologetic Podcast, that's available on YouTube.com. Search Unapologetic Podcast. I put the link in the comments a little bit earlier, like before the show even started. So if you want to stroll back and hit that link and subscribe to the channel, or just check it out, man. Just doing something different, man. It's a weekly podcast that I'm going to do. Is not going to be involving sports. It's going to be involving life. It's going to be involving marriage. It's going to be involving like social issues, stuff like that, man. I mean, it's going to be something for everybody. So if you like that kind of stuff, if you're into that kind of stuff, be sure to check that out. I got a video that I just recorded right before I went live here, and I was talking a little bit about the Grammys and Jay-Z speech on that. So talk a little bit about that. So if you're into that type of stuff, go ahead and subscribe to the channel. I really do appreciate everybody's love and support. Make sure that you subscribe to the channel if you have not already, the State of the Saints podcast. Check me out on Twitter or X at TJAY Jones 8. And you can also follow the State of the Saints podcast and the Gumbo Pod Sports podcast on the Facebook page, which is facebook.com. Search Gumbo Pod Sports. So thank you all so much. Have a good morning, noon, night, whenever you're checking out this podcast. And like always, all I got to say is, who that?
Hey, don't let these tears fool you. It's all dog around this mug. I'm good.